If you need a little extra boost and one-to-one help with this, maybe just getting some more perspectives on where you personally are going into the muck of the world instead of choosing the lightness, I invite you to come and sit down with me one-to-one to dig in a little bit deeper. If you go to laurenpoly.com/apply, you'll find an application you can fill out and send to me to be able to sit down with a one-to-one chat, get some helpful tools and also a lot more clarity on where personally this may be sticking you, and start exploring the possibilities beyond all of that. Have an amazing week, and as always, I will chat with you next Tuesday. Hello, and welcome to the Lighten Up Podcast with Lauren Poly, your invitation for living on the lighter side of life. I'm Lauren Poly, and I am delighted you have chosen to join me today for episode 209, Staying Positive in Hard Times. We're going to chat today about a very simple way to start not only reframing your perspective, but also reframing your choices in your day-to-day life to actually bring a sense of lightness, of peace, and of happiness, regardless of what other people are choosing around you. And I think this is so fascinating because no matter where we go, no matter what we do, no matter kind of where we are steering our life in the quote unquote right direction for us, we constantly get swayed by the way the world is and the way the people in our world are behaving and acting and what they're actually choosing. So a lot of times you will be choosing for greater for yourself. You'll be going for a sense of peace and possibility. You'll see a new idea. You want to make a change. And lo and behold, you start looking at the bigger picture, what the world is doing and also what the people in your life are doing. And how easy is it to actually get pulled off course? That lightness of a possibility seems to get dulled down and quieted or hijacked sometimes by the people that we're surrounded with. And it was fascinating. This conversation really came from one that I had with a friend this past week who was really, really struggling. She, again, was on that path of actually choosing for herself and going forth in a new direction. And not only was it the people in her lives that were just unwilling to make a change or acknowledge that she was, but also she was looking around at the world events and going, I really thought I came here to make the world a better place. And where I look at the state of things right now, I kind of give up hope. And I know she's not alone, hence this podcast. I wanted to put this in your all world as well. And how we shifted it in the moment for her and what I invite you guys to is just this simple awareness, which at the same time is super, super profound. It is one of my favorites from the Access Bars manual. The Access Bars is an amazing technique to help you quiet your mind and relax your body and open you up to new possibilities. It is like stress relief, self-care times a million. If you haven't tried it yet, I highly suggest you check it out. But in the manual, it actually says that most of us are programmed innately, unconsciously, subconsciously to try to go into the heaviness of life in order to bring light to it. To go into the quote unquote negative in order to turn it to a positive, instead of actually just choosing what is light from the get-go. And when I read that, I was just like, whoa, wait a second. It was so eye-opening for everything that I've been through in my life. And also just having this conversation with my friend, that was the first thing that popped to talk about with her. Because so many of us, when we do get mired in other people's stuff, when we give up our hope and our sense of possibilities, or when we feel like we've been hijacked basically into the muck and the yuck of the world, this is really at the root of it. We have this subconscious thing where it's like, well, if I can just fix the world's problems, or if I can just heal the people in my life, or if I can just change this for the people who are closest to me, then I'll finally be able to have the life, the living, and the world that I know is possible. And of course, the problem with that is you don't actually have control over what other people choose. That is the rub of all of this. So to be able to actually reframe your perspective of, wow, look what I'm doing. I'm going in to fix it, heal it, change it for other people. I'm not actually just choosing what's light and what works for me in this moment. You'll start actually catching these little choice points where you're choosing to go down the rabbit hole instead of actually going into the lightness that you know is possible. I think a really important kind of side note and big kind of aha that goes with this is realizing kind of like why you're doing what you're doing. It's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just that most of us, number one, are super aware of other people and super connected to the entirety of the universe. And we don't live in a bubble like most of us think that we do. We actually are quite aware of the ripple effects that other people's choices have on us and vice versa. And also the ripple effect that what we choose has in the world, which is a huge thing, right? Well, if you start looking at how aware you are of others, how easy is it to get hijacked by that awareness and not actually tune into yourself? So when you're working with this whole thing about choosing what's light, not going into the heaviness to bring light to it, number one, you have to acknowledge that you're very, very aware of other people. You don't live in that bubble. You actually have a great big bubble that includes everything to be able to kind of go, okay, I'm actually very aware of all the ripples that are going on right now. In the midst of all of this awareness, how do I find me? Me. What's true for me right now? And whatever it is that you need to do to come back to you and your body. You know, I always tell the clients I work with, keep a running list of the things that make you feel like that. The things that you can actually take action on that bring you back to you and to your body. You know, my list includes walking in nature, writing. I love writing, of course, with my multi-award-winning book. That's one of my go-tos. Sometimes it's a certain friend. It's getting my access bars run. There's a whole host of things that you can do, and keep a running tally. Whatever you do that actually makes you feel at home in your body and like you have a sense of possibility and of yourself, that goes on the list. And whenever you're having a hard time finding it, guess what? Go to the list, see what pops, and do it. So that's a really easy kind of beginning step is number one, acknowledge how aware you are and get a running tally, kind of like an owner's manual, so to speak, on how you can make the change in those moments where you're losing yourself in the noise of the world to bring you back to you. A second step with this conversation, when you find yourself choosing into heaviness to fix it, heal it, change it for others, not you, choosing what's light, is acknowledge how much you care. And this is a hard one sometimes for us to wrap our awareness around. A lot of us will go, yeah, I'm aware of other people. Yeah, it throws me off a bit. I'm working on coming back to me. There's kind of this kind of surface thing that we do with that. It gets harder sometimes to actually go, and I care. It gets hard, I think, sometimes to look eyes on, full frontal, like fully turning towards that power of caring that you have, because sometimes it hurts. If we have people in our life that we care so much about and we look at what they're choosing, we're aware of a different possibility for them. And yet they don't choose that. They're choosing into the muck and the heaviness. It hurts. When we look at the state of the planet and the environment and what's being done to nature, and we know something different is possible, we care about the earth, that can hurt. Same exact thing with just the world at large when you look at humanity. You know, a lot of us have been in these conversations about choosing for us and what works for us and having our reality. Sometimes when we go down that rabbit hole, we don't actually include this caring conversation that you do actually care for other people. You need to acknowledge how much you do, so that way you actually stop keeping it hidden and a secret and something you're constantly turning away from, and actually go, you know what, right now I'm caring more about this person than that person cares about themselves. And ouch, but okay, that's what's going on here. Only then are you going to actually have the freedom to choose to do something different. This is a big one, and like I said, this is something that I don't see a lot of people digging into. It's something I'm constantly pushing my growing edges with as well. Because again, the more you open up, the more you go, oh, that's really hard to look at. So you start to turn away from it. And then, of course, what do? You pull more into yourself, and you're pushing against this thing like, I want to choose for me. I want to be happy. I want to stay positive, but I can't because of all these people. You got to acknowledge how aware you are and also how much you care. And eventually, when you really push into that, you'll actually be able to go, not only do I care more about them than they're caring about themselves, but I actually have the ability to care so much about them that I'm going to let them have their own choice and create their own life and go through whatever it is they need to go through to choose whatever they're going to choose. Also, I'm going to choose to care more about myself in this given moment to take care of me. And it's such an interesting edge to be playing about how much you care about other people, sometimes more than they're actually having caring for themselves. And also, how much of a lack of caring are you showing for yourself when you lose yourself in their heaviness? What is it going to take for you to actually reclaim how much you care about you and the ultimate self-care tool? Not the yoga, not the vacation, not the bubble baths. I do all that because it's delicious and wonderful. But more than anything, the ultimate self-care tool in the moment is having enough caring for you that you choose the lightness regardless of what other people are choosing around you. Yes, you care for others. Yes, you care for the world, but really and truly caring for yourself and choosing what lights you up, that is what's going to guide your life and let you have the ripple effect that you're actually going for. So with this quote from that Access Bars manual of, most of us are programmed to go into the heaviness to bring lightness to us, thinking that it's going to increase our lightness of living. What if instead you actually just chose what was light for you from the get-go? So when you're talking to somebody and you're getting embroiled in their problems, you're getting dragged down, you're getting hijacked away from the lightness that you know is possible, is that really choosing what's light for you? And that's a moment right then and there to go, number one, I'm really aware here. Number two, I have a great deal of caring for that person. Okay, I see it. And you know what? Number three, I'm going to have enough caring for myself in this moment to go, okay, I'm going to choose what lights me up. I'm going to shift the conversation. I'm going to choose to walk away. I'm going to interrupt this person's pattern to actually bring a different possibility, whether or not they change or not. What is it going to take for you in that moment to actually go, I'm going to put myself and my possibilities ahead of getting stuck in this heaviness here? You can also do this when watching the news or turning into the world events. Right now, it's super intense. There's a lot of stuff going on. And again, it's super easy to get lost in that. How aware are you when you're hearing the news of everyone around you who is going into trauma drama, going into upset and intrigue, and getting freaked out? Okay, I see it. I'm aware. I care about what's going on here. I don't need to turn away from that. But again, I'm going to care enough for myself to reframe it and redirect it and choose what works for me here. Part of what I work with clients is really being able to see in the moment this choice point that they have to actually redirect their awareness and their energy. Because whatever you put your awareness on actually grows. So the more that you dive into people's heaviness, dive into the world's heaviness, guess what grows in your own world, in your own space? It gets very hard to stay positive or stay happy or stay light and peaceful with that going on. You need to be able to actually recognize when it's happening, redirect it, and start to take action on it. Start to actually choose in that moment of, I'm waking up, there's a bit of heaviness in the world, that's what it is, I'm aware, I care, what's true for me here, moving forward. It's so fascinating, and you can look over your life. How often have you chosen things trying to fix what is, trying to fight what is, or figure out what is, instead of actually going, you know what, if I took a quarter turn over here into some open space, I could just choose to create what worked for me. What if it wasn't about fixing, it was about creating? What if it wasn't about healing yourself or other people, it was about creating in this moment what you know is possible? And what if that actually allowed you to have that ripple effect in the world that you know you came here to make? My friend and I were having this conversation, and that just kind of lit something up for her of, again, I knew I came into this world to make it a better place. I see these possibilities. But she was going down into the rabbit hole of trying to fix and pull everybody along with her, including her loved ones in her life, and that just was not working. What if instead you actually allow yourself to choose what works for you and march ahead? And let the people follow if they choose. Be the inspiration that actually goes, oh, look what you're choosing. Thank you. I'll have that too. And empower the people to make their own choices in their own time, in their own way. This is a biggie. Please re-listen to this episode. There's multiple choice points, ahas, and also some step-by-step things you can do. Catch yourself in the moment as soon as things get heavy in conversation or turning into the world's news. Be aware of number one, you are aware. Most of this stuff, probably not yours, just your awareness. Number two, acknowledge your depth of caring that you have for the world and the people in your lives. Number three, care for yourself more than trying to fix their problems. And pivot yourself so you can actually start choosing what works for you. Choosing what's light from the get-go, not going into the heaviness to bring light to it. And start to actually explore the ripple effect you can have for yourself, and also the ripple effects on the grander scale when you choose to function this way. It is possible. I've played with this myself time and time again, and I've helped lots and lots of people do the same. If you need a little extra boost and one-to-one help with this, maybe just getting some more perspectives on where you personally are going into the muck of the world instead of choosing the lightness, I invite you to come and sit down with me one-to-one to dig in a little bit deeper. If you go to laurenpolly.com/apply, you'll find an application you can fill out and send to me to be able to sit down with a one-to-one chat, get some helpful tools and also a lot more clarity on where personally this may be sticking you, and start exploring the possibilities beyond all of that. Have an amazing week, and as always, I will chat with you next Tuesday.